Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willis, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. Good morning to the entire world listening to our signals via the magic of El Internet, formerly known as ARPANET, created by whom again? Created by we, the people. Again, created by whom again? We, the people, now controlled by the ones who shouldn't have control of said entity. Anyway, folks, without further ado, let's go ahead and move it on to the geniuses in the studio, Senor Howard Reynolds, Jacques Van Bever, and Mayana.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, I like that. I like that opening. Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, guys. How you guys doing?
We're good. We're good.
Yeah, we're good. We're good. How are you?
I am doing fine. Glad to be back in Houston after taking a very, very short reprieve, but you know how that goes. Anyway, what's up, guys?
I think that the rigging of the next election cycle is already being orchestrated by President Trump. President Trump has persuaded Governor Abbott reluctantly to redraw district lines to create five more Republican districts. This is unusual for districts to be redrawn at mid-decade. Redistricting usually happens after the census is taken at the decade as the decade changes. This redistricting is part of a setting up of an autocracy for the Republican Party and is fundamentally anti-democratic. It allows for politicians to pick their voters rather than the voters selecting their representatives. Representative Tallarico identifies wealthy donors Tim Dunn and Ferris Wilkes as billionaire extremist Republican as bankrolling extremist Republican legislation in Texas, arguing that billionaire interests deliberately divide Americans to maintain their wealth and power. Pretty sick.
Yeah, it is sick. And here's what's so interesting. In this redistricting process now, I want to show you the silliness of what's going on. Previously, listen to this, guys. Previously, there are four or five minority districts that they're going after in order to carve out four or five more Republican districts. In other words, there are districts that were carved out not solely on racial lines, but in such a manner to give better representation to all Texans, not taking away representation, but representation to all Texans. When the last redraw occurred, right? The growth of Texas, 90% or more of the growth of Texas was because of the growth of the Latino population. And instead, and that gained us, I think it was two new seats in Congress. That is huge. You have many states that lost one seat. Texas was one of those states that gained two seats. And again, that gain in the population deserving of that, those two Congress people were actually attributed because it was a statement, it's a statement of fact, to the growth in the Latino population. But the districts that they carved out, they added two additional Republican district, again, what one would call a white district, two white districts. Now there was no problem. The there was complaints about these districts created, and Texas went and said, no, we have no problem with the creation of our districts, including the way these four or five districts that they want to regenerate was. In other words, they said, no, we have no racial problems in the way our districts were created. Well, Donald Trump comes and he says, we want to get five more Republican districts. And in the process, the DOJ now says, and the districts that were to give Texas cover, it says that the districts that were created, the minority districts, are unconstitutional because they are based mostly on race and not politics. So whereas the DOJ beforehand, with the consent of Texas, said those districts were created constitutionally, done well, in order to get these new Republican districts, the DOJ has reversed course, and Texas has agreed that they have to change these districts because they were created minority based. So it's going to be interesting to see how they attempt to take away power from some. And here's the other issue, because it's quite interesting that in doing so, what they may actually do is hurt themselves, because in diluting the current Republican districts, because the way they do that, right, is let's use Sheila Jackson Lee, Sylvester Turner's 18th district. What they would do in the case of redrawing those lines is to pretty much take out a whole lot of let's say Democratic leaning voters out of that district, uh, under several pretenses. One, that a lot of folks won't vote, and two, that they could throw Republicans in there to change the makeup of that district. But in the process of doing that, what they have to do is find somewhere else to put those Democrats. And those Democrats would be going into, let's say, 55-45 predominantly Republican districts, which may dilute it to a 48-52 makeup and put that district immediately in play, especially when folks find out that what the big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump and many Republicans praise is actually going to put some hurting, put some harm on these people in those districts, including and predominantly hurt the Republican constituencies of these districts. So there's a lot going on. On Friday, uh, while I was in um, while I was in San Antonio, I'd gotten a call from this guy that said, "Hey, we are some Democratic Congress people have left the state and headed to California." I had gotten some misinformation from the press release. What happens is we had some Democrats leave the state to go to both California and Illinois to discuss what the different options are going to be for Texas Democrats to do if the governor is successful in getting those extra districts. California, Illinois, and other blue states will be instrumental in counteracting this. So it is starting to take on some steam. I wish they would be working faster. I wish they would be more vocal. But rest assured that right now, at least right now, our Texas Democrats that are, involved in this entire issue, they are taking on issues. I'm expecting to get an interview out with the current leader of the Democratic caucus here in our state to see exactly what are the options that they're going to be looking at, because the special session is well underway right now. So it is something that has to be taken care of, something that they will take care of. All right. I hope you guys enjoyed the interviews that I left on Friday. Um, it's great to have a village. It's great to have good friends, right? As you know, the summer is almost over for the students here in Texas. I know it goes to, summer ends in September, but and a friend of ours that's like, hey, you guys haven't headed anywhere. You are going with us to San Antonio. And so, I said, you know what, man, I've got to say yes, or the wife this time is going to really knock me out or something. So we drove. Uh, our friends came and picked us up right after the show on Thursday, and I prepared a show for Friday with. I hope you enjoyed that. That was I don't remember which one I sent, but I think I gave you the one with the economist and the other guy there. But anyhow, when we traveled, that's a time you get to meet. I make every place that I go sort of like an experiment, right? To see, what's really happening elsewhere, how people are looking at things. And we ended up going to this. this restaurant out there in San Antonio, regular average restaurant, and it was empty. And the waitress came up and we were talking and we were having a good time talking to her. And then I looked at her and I said, "Hey, is it always this way this time?" Because it was a time where you would think it's full. And she said, "Oh no, things have been very, very slow, etc., etc." And I wanted to, I was asking her to compare it to how it was before, etc. And I think eventually she kind of realized that I wasn't going to get political with her because the woman is on her job. But what I was really trying to find out is if this had something to do with the people's state of mind, how they're feeling about the economy, etc. And all the vibes that she was giving me was like, yeah, this is kind of different. People are starting to react to how, what Trump is actually doing in destroying our economy. But when she kind of figured out what I was talking about, she immediately said, "Oh yeah, but that's how it is. Sometimes it gets slow and then it gets better." And because I think she wanted to ward off any kind of me getting political. I wasn't. But the reason I brought that subject up is that you can actually start in after seeing boom in the restaurant industry and all these other industries, service industries, you are starting to see the tame down. The other thing I notice is on our way back, our friends took us to a little breakfast place. And before we went, I told my wife, can we share everything as far as the food is concerned, like when we go out to the restaurant, etc. I wanted to do that mostly because I want to lose about 15, 20 pounds. And, they serve you a lot of food, and etc. And she said, yeah, we could share everything. She doesn't, she eat like a pigeon anyway. And, but what I noticed when we got our food and everything was shared, I looked around and just about everybody that was sitting around us was sharing entrees. And I'm like, again, like I said, hadn't seen that everybody out there was sharing entrees, and I'm saying, okay, I think things are really a changing, and it is starting to show up even in the everyday things that we do. So, folks, it is starting to happen. It is starting to percolate down in the channels. I'm going to talk about a few other things in a little bit, but I want to salute our great listeners first of all. So I want to say welcome aboard, Lisa Blair from Atlanta, Georgia, Lee the Bearcat from Austin, Texas. Lee, I was in Austin a couple of days ago, on Saturday, in fact. Jennifer Rogers, welcome aboard. Says, good morning, Jack, Mayana, and host Egberto, Harry Denson Jr. from Missouri City. You're using somebody else's name, buddy. Anyway, thank you for being here, brother. Uh, let's see what else we got here. Coming on to Substack. Welcome, Marge KJ, says morning Egberto from Chesapeake, Virginia. Kathy Walker, Vicky Feedback, Sefi McCarthy, Raya, Marge K says Georgia has already gotten rid of, I think, 250,000 black and brown voters. Yep, Greg Palace has an entire documentary he did on that, March KJ. If you look up at our in our website, we have a link to Greg Palace. Greg Palace is the name, where he did a full documentary of what happened to the black and brown voters in Georgia. Mike Eggert, welcome. Wendy L. Anberg, Jane B. from North Carolina, Anita O'Toole, Matthew Ward. It's never happening. Marge KJ enjoyed the interviews. It's never happening. OJ is $10 in Connecticut. What? For a half a gallon, you're paying $10 for orange juice? Madre mia, ¿qué pasa con esta gente? It's never happening. It says prices are up all around the world. Good morning, Mary B. and Gayla Kunis. Welcome aboard. All right, folks. Another quick story before I get to the subject at hand. On Saturday, our friend said, let's drive to Austin. They know that I love a pizza shop I've been going to from the time I was in college in Austin. It's called Conan's Pizza. And let me just tell you that the it has not changed. Every time I'm within 50 miles of Austin, I've got to go to Conan's deep dish whole wheat pizza, and I'm telling you, it was just wonderful, and I couldn't get me enough of the pizza to eat. But anyway, we went down and got some pizza, and our friend said, "You know what? Let's go ahead before we leave Austin. There's this beautiful place." And again, uh, we've been there a couple of times before, and we went there, and it's right there on Lake Travis. And something interesting happened, right? Um, uh, After we shared a little chips and dip, and had a beer, and on leaving, I was looking for a spot so that the four of us could take a little picture. And out of nowhere, I hear Willie's, Willie's. And I figure, there are a lot of people whose name is Willis. Mine is Willie's, but people call it Willis. And then I then heard Egberto. Then I said, well, you know what? There's nobody named Egberto around these places. So I turned around, and there's this guy. He comes up to me. He said, Egberto, right? I'm like, yeah. And he says, I know it. I told my wife that it's you. And then he said, he lives in Austin. And he says, I listen to you every morning on KPFT in Austin. Every morning. I told my wife that was you. And I got excited because it was like, and let me tell you why I really got excited. I'm like, cool, man, where are you from? He's like, I am from Panama. Okay, that's like interesting. I am here in Houston, traveled to San Antonio, made a quick drive to to Austin to this one restaurant, uh, and there's this dude from Panama that listens to the show. What what kind of coincidence is that, right? And then I said, "What part of Panama are you from?" And he says, Colon. I'm like, dang, what a coincidence. He's from Colon, the same place in Panama that I'm from. It's like, what does that mean? What a coincidence that somebody from where you're from, your country, not only from your country, but from your city, is there. Suffice it to say, it was a great feeling. First of all, that out of the blue, somebody who listens to the show, you find at a restaurant. Secondly, that you have some sort of a connection otherwise with. I just mentioned that it was a real feel good moment, and that I had. All right, now get into what I really want to talk about. Today, we want to talk about two issues. Uh, we're not talking about Epstein. Let all the people that want to hyperventilate about Epstein. What is it going to show? That Donald Trump is a bad dude? That there could be people who believe that maybe like his good friend Epstein, he did things with and look, folks, let me first qualify. I don't know this. I have no evidence for this, but you sleep with dogs, you rise with fleas, is what my mom used to tell me when she watched whoever I hung around. She always said, Berto, you sleep with dogs, you rise with fleas. So she always said, watch the people that you hang around. Because even if you are not doing the stuff that they're doing, if they're bad, that is, you will be judged as they are. Now, Donald Trump, we know what he's convicted of with doing with women and all of that kind of stuff. And I don't think it's a far stretch for one's imagination to have faith and believe that just maybe the same things Epstein did, he did. But you know what? If that is the case, does that make him any worse of a person that he is today? No. And we elected him anyway. So let's concentrate on doing something and talking about something that matters to you, that really matters to you, that matters to your bread and butter, that matters to your survival. And that's what we're going to do, beautiful people. That is what we're going to do. So that's why I'm going to start with Medicare for All, Medicaid, An article that I read that I said to yes. And here's what I'm saying now. And Mandami even works into this. The answer to the Medicaid cuts should be Medicare for all. The answer to Medicaid cuts should be Medicare for all. For all of you who are on corporate employment, corporate health care, meaning health care from your company, for those of you who are already on Medicare, for those of you who are on veterans benefit for your health care, a lot of you uh, may not be as concerned about the Medicaid cuts, the $1 trillion or so in Medicaid cuts that Donald Trump, through his puppet Congress, has effected on America. A lot of you may say, well, I have corporate insurance, or I have this, or I have that, and you may feel that you are safe. Well, what you're going to find out pretty soon is that all of these things percolate. Because if we take $1 trillion out of Medicaid, there are less people who are going to go to hospitals. The Medicaid people on Medicaid, go to the same hospitals that people on Medicare go to, that people on corporate insurance go to. Well, the veterans, and that some people that get veteran benefits that go to other hospitals. So you can't go to the veterans hospitals, but you can go, they also go everywhere. But what that means, folks, is that all those hospitals, all those doctors have a smaller pool to take care of, and their expenses didn't really disappear in their fixed cost didn't disappear in the process. So the fixed costs that they have will have to be shared among less people, and that means higher prices for everybody. That's just how math works. So if you think you're harming that, when the poor people no longer have, the poor people or disabled people no longer have their Medicaid, that, well, that you're isolated from that, it all percolates down. Additionally, because Donald Trump's uh, deficit is so large, it actually will directly affect Medicare. Even though legally speaking, you cannot change the rules of Medicare without what's called cloture in Congress, without 60 people in the Senate saying we can make these changes. Guess what, folks? 60 people in Congress several years ago made the changes automatically for you. What that means is the following: that if the deficit reaches a certain level, what occurs immediately is something called sequestration. This bill was passed many years ago, but it affects the irresponsibility, it affects irresponsible budgeting without further cloture needed, without people having to get 60 votes anymore. So by them creating such a big deficit, the Republicans have found a back door to cut Medicare through sequestration. Again, you have to understand that Republicans have been trying to take your health care away and throw it into the markets for a very, very long time. And if you are persistent, and diligent, those are the people who eventually get wins. I always said, you don't have to be the smartest person in the world to attain greatness. Actually, to be wealthy, you don't have to be any of that. Persistence is more important than absolute intelligence. And one thing Republicans have always been is persistent in wanting to take away social services, and they'll find many ways to do it. Obamacare is rock solid because it needs cloture to overturn, but the portions on the side, they're constantly getting ways around it, and they have been successful thus far. One, And hear this, people, I want you to listen. Many of you listening to me, not necessarily in Texas, but in other states, you are on Obamacare. It's just not called Obamacare because many a times they called it different names so people would use it. But guess what? You will be affected immediately because when the exchanges open in November, what you're going to find out is that your subsidies, your subsidies will no longer be there because that part of Obamacare was done through reconciliation. And guess what? That is where they got you. So now uh, that will expire. I think it was done either through reconciliation or had an expiration date that needed to be re-up. I want to make sure I'm accurate there. I don't remember which one it is, but whatever the case is, it's up in December, which means there will be no, unless Congress does something, there will be no subsidies for Obamacare people that are buying their insurance on the exchange. What does that really mean? Well, a lot of people on the exchange, when they go ahead and put their stuff in, their social security and all of that, the computer system goes off and it looks at your IRS record, how much you paid into taxes and all of that, and based on that, it can go ahead and generate subsidies for your health insurance, and it doesn't even show us subsidies. It just tells you what your monthly rate for your insurance is gonna be. And a lot of those monthly rates were pretty darn low, and they were low because of your income level, etc., and the subsidies that you receive. Well, a lot of those subsidies, folks, are gone. That's what our Republican Congress did to us, and our president did to us. Those subsidies are gone, and what people are going to see is their insurance rate go. Some people that were paying $700 a month will now be paying $1,400 a month. Okay? Now think about that. That is what's interesting. Think about that. So I want all of you, remember I said, let's forget about Epstein. There are things that are going to start happening to you in November. And while these guys hyperventilate on this, they're not raising your ire so that you can call your Congress people and say, hey, that drop in subsidies, you better reapportion that because we cannot get by with the doubling of our health insurance. People, we have to be aware of what's going on. And all Epstein is doing, when I watch, yesterday as I taped all these shows. So I got home yesterday and I synopsisized watching all of them, fast forwarding, get it, fast forward to watch all the different morning shows, and the hyperventilation on Epstein continued, to which I constantly said, why shouldn't we need to be talking about these issues that are going to directly have impact on you, on you. So folks, we got a lot of work to do. Medicare for All. I have an article that I linked to in the newsletter, politicsandright.com/newsletter. As far as why Medicare for All is now the answer to Medicaid. It gives us an entry point. Most people want Medicare for All. The insurance companies are lying to you when they tell you that it's less efficient, when they tell you that somehow you would have less choices. What they really should say is you will have less choices for the ones who would enslave you. If you were, do you want to say, I can have slave master number one, slave master number two, or slave master number three, but slave masters nonetheless? Meaning each insurance company that tells you what to do, what medicines you can take, what doctors you can use, everything, as opposed to Medicare for All that says no matter whether you are 0 years old or 100 years old, you are covered from birth to death. You don't have to pay shareholders. You don't have to pay advertising costs. You don't have to pay any of these things because we're all paying. All of us are paying for healthcare out of our general tax funds, it's a lot less expensive. And the only reason it's not done is because our corporatocracy's greed is in control of our Congress. And in so doing, we have lied to all of you as to what Medicare for All is, which is healthcare for everybody. You choose your doctors choose what medicine best to protect you, to heal you. Your doctor proves what you actually need. Works in every other major country in the world. We are listed last in the major OECD countries in healthcare, in life expectancy, and near the bottom for all of those. So, folks, I implore you to call your TV stations and all these other things. Call your politicians. Tell them get off the darn Epstein story, and tell them let's talk about things that are going to affect your pocketbook. Let's talk about things that's going to affect your wealth. Let's talk about things that's going to affect your life. Epstein will have nothing to affect will do nothing to make your personal economy better. We already know that the person who leads this country is an evil being. We already know that. Do we want to know if he's 0.35% more evil than we thought? Even though in my book, I don't think that can be proven or that can really be. Or do we want to worry about all of you here who are about to feel the pain of the treason effected on the American people with the big, ugly bill? All right. Ernie Boxall says the following, and I'm coming to you, Bruce. But Ernie Boxall said the following, and I love that he said this because this is so important. The deception that is occurring. Ernie Boxall is in our chat, and he says, "Why are so many Black American podcasters MAGA now?" And I have the answer for you, because I was invited as a Black Latino Caribbean podcaster, blogger, writer, author. I was invited into the MAGA sphere as well. And let me give you the simple answer, Mr. Boxall, because they are paid. That's the answer. They are paid, and they're paid very, very well. And the idea is right now, the Republicans and MAGA are the smartest marketers in politics, bar none. Lousy politics, but great marketing will get you a marginal win. That's what occurred in 2024. And that's what can occur in 2026 if the American people don't see what's happening. And I want to thank you, Mr. Boxall, for giving me the opportunity to speak about that. Why are so many Black American podcasters MAGA now? They're not MAGA. Let's go with the biggest one right now, right? The woman. Come on, folks. I just drew a blank. But the biggest lady podcaster, do you know she was a progressive podcaster before? What's her name? Anyway, she was a progressive podcaster before. Progressive, not podcaster, but web host, webcaster. Uh, that's who she was. But again, it pays very well. If I decided to accept the offers to be a Black podcaster, I would be set for a very long time. And that's the act. Candace Owens, thank you so kind. I have the smartest listeners, Marge KJ, but it pays very well. Candace Williams became a millionaire quickly. Okay? Became a millionaire quickly. I've gotten emails where the offer was made, but I will never sell my soul or sell out the American people. And remember what they're doing there. That is actually by having these Black podcasters that are MAGA, that is actually them saying, hey, convince Black people to take off, to move away from the Democratic Party or to move away from what they've always known. And by the way, in the same point, at the same time that these black podcasters are doing that, of course, your voting rights are being taken away. Of course, the policies like DEI that, yes, mostly support white women, but black people kind of get onto the coattails in DEI, get rid of those policies, etc. And then you have these podcasters making you believe that all of that is okay. So, Mr. Baxall, that is the reason why a lot of black podcasters are coming to the fold, and they get market penetration because they have the money to buy the what again? All the online ads and all of that is paid for them. So one of them come and they just get the advertising. It goes into everybody's feeds. People click on it. There you go. Right now, politics done right struggles. Right now, the KPFTs of the world struggle. We don't have those pockets. The corporate and the funny thing about it is that a city like Houston, we should not be suffering to get this space. But what it tells you is that the wealthy class is just that, a class. Let me put it this way. Let's talk about KPFT. I'm coming to you, Bruce, but I need to say this. KPFT has a budget of under $2 million a year. All of us are volunteers here at KPFT, except for a couple of workers. Okay? And it's under $2 million to run it. Electricity, antennas, all of that. We could use an influx of a few $1,000,000 to upgrade equipment right now. We have people in Houston that a couple of $1 million, $5 million is a rounding error, not in their assets, but in their income. We are doing a great thing here for the city. We are improving people's lives. We are educating people of the lies that occur, of what the mainstream media is doing. And we are struggling to get income to continue doing this. One millionaire in Houston could wipe out the problems that this particular radio station, that this particular program has. 1 millionaire. But it shows you that class means something. I wrote a book a long time ago called As I See It, Class Warfare is the Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. And I mean that. I mean that. We are being annihilated by class. Racism and all those isms are nothing but the tools that the wealthy class used to control us. All the isms are used to control us. I love all my people, every single one of you. I don't care how you classify yourself. But they don't want that because we'll get together and figure out who's screwing us. Sorry about that. Let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, brother. Talk to me.
Yeah, my radio broke, so I am going to have to buy another radio. But anyway, I agree with Newsom and that we got to fight fire with fire. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about on a call one time about a presidential election. If they challenge votes, we challenge the same amount or more. Same thing. I'm watching the Ozzy Osbourne tribute, and as soon as they played Crazy Train, I went, that's it. That's it. When we run ads against Trump, we should show him, contradicting himself and have that as the background song that we're going downhill on a crazy train. When it comes to Maxwell, she ain't got nothing new to offer. If I was the person trying to get her to say what I wanted to hear, I would walk in her cell with a briefcase and I would say, listen, we can't get you a parole. You're too deviant. But you know what? Prison's lonely and boring, and I have this. And I'd open the briefcase up and there'd be a bunch of batteries and a brand new vibrator. I'm done.
Thank you, my brother. Thank you very much, my brother. You have a wonderful day. Let's go to Brother Jimmy.
Hi, Roberto. Saturday there was a big rally at the University of Houston against redistricting. I don't know if you heard
Yes.
about that, but
Oh,
there was a big
absolutely,
rally there.
absolutely, absolutely.
And the Democrats that went to Illinois and California, are they back, or how long are they going to be gone? Do you know?
I don't know if they're back yet. I assume they're back because again, that was just a conference between the governor of each of those states and our guys. So I think they're back. But I have an open call with one of the Congress people. I mean the reps. So I'll let you guys know tomorrow.
And on the last redistricting, you said Texas got two more congressmen. Actually, we got four, as I recall. We got four. Texas population groups are so fast that we got four in four different states, lost one each.
Oh, okay. I
So,
didn't realize. I thought it was two that we got, but okay. I stand corrected if it's four, sir.
okay. The other issue that's burning with me is that Gaza. This Gaza deal is horrible. People are starving over there. And New York Times had an article about saying Netanyahu kept the war going against Gaza to save his own job. It shows how selfish he is, caring about his own job over all the people in the Gaza that are starving and dying, and they got Israeli soldiers shooting at them when they come lining up for food. That's horrible. We need to really condemn Netanyahu and Israel for what they're doing to the people in Gaza.
Yeah, it is. It is terrible. And the worst part about it is, we have Congress people and senators here that we kind of like, but they have allowed the corporate sector, specifically folks like APAC and other supporters, the bomb making companies, to really mess with their morals. I love the senator from New Jersey, but I'm sorry, he has failed. Let me see. What is his name? New Jersey senators. He has completely failed in Cory Booker. I'm sorry. Cory Booker and many others have failed in really the humanitarian, in calling out the inhumanity of what's occurring in Israel and what we are doing in the support of Israel as they destroy, as they maim, as they kill, as they murder, as they genocide over 100,000 children, women, and men that are innocent. We have failed, and I think we are going to be judged harshly for that. The murder of these people, and that's what it is, murder. And we have people in the Israeli army now confessing this is just wiping out people, disregarded these people humanity. It's not anti-Semitic. All of you that are listening to me here, it's not anti-Semitic to complain about and to want to fight against what Netanyahu is doing in Gaza. Don't let the fear of any of the isms get you from protecting humanity. Don't. Continue, Jimmy, before I go to Johnny.
That's what I want to say. I really enjoyed your interview with the legislator who is a doctor, and in the
Right.
legislature. I'll be kind of curious as to how he handles his patients when he's working in the legislature.
I know, right? Maybe he has he probably have other doctors in the office. I didn't ask him that, but that would have been a good question to ask. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Thank you, my brother. Oh, wait, Jimmy, hold on. I always want to make sure and have the record corrected for our audience. It is 2 seats that we gained in 2020. So because earlier I said, okay, I'll defer, but no, it's 2 seats we gained in 2020. All right?
Okay.
Thank you, brother. Peace.
Good deal. Okay, well, have a good one.
You too, my brother. All right, let's go to Johnny. Brother Johnny, come on in.
Bruce is both inspired and inspiring. It's a good thing he's on our side.
I know, but that kind of battery operated utility is kind of cute.
I like the way he thinks. So there's another reason why MAGA and the Republican Party overall, why they like to recruit black people who they think are financially vulnerable, like Candace Owens. There's another reason. They like to deny people like me. They think they're denying me a talking point. So that's the other reason they like to do that.
I know exactly what you mean by that. In other words, you see, we have black people too, but that is like saying I've got a black friend, I've got a Latino friend, so I must not be.
Hello.
But yeah, you know, I get it.
Now, and now I have it again. When I don't write down stuff on sticky notepads, guess what? Woo! It's gone.
Didn't you?
Anyway,
Hey, wait a minute. Did you hear me having trouble remembering Cory Booker's name and Candace Owen? I'm so glad I have all
yes,
these
and
smart
Owen,
people list.
when you said that, I immediately thought of her face and those striking eyelashes of hers, and I
Yeah,
said, "Damn, who is that? Who is that woman?" I had the same
she
problem.
she's a beautiful woman, and to think the crap that comes out of her mouth, it's like, oh my God,
Oh,
you cannot admire her beauty because of all the things that comes, the evil that comes out of this woman, you know. But anyway,
when they
anyway,
talk that stuff, they are totally unattractive to me.
all right, thank you, Johnny. Have a good
Matters to
one.
her.
Let's.
She don't care. She
Uh,
doesn't care what I think.
no, because she's
She doesn't care
collecting the
what I think.
millions. She's collecting the millions. Thank you, brother. Let's go to David.
A whole bunch of people. She cares what a
Yeah.
whole bunch of people think.
Thanks,
That's
Johnny.
the power. That's the power they got is the money. The money, honey. We outnumber them, but we got to be unified and we got to coordinate. And we can't be obvious the way we coordinate because they own the power structure that spies on us.
Okay, wait, Johnny, don't say that.
Yeah.
We have the power to do it, and we will. Yes, they may have the structure right now, but we have the power to do it. Hey, Johnny, I got to throw you off because the lines are filling up, man. Love you,
Oh, no
man. Let's
problem. No
let's talk
problem.
tomorrow. Let's go to
It's fun to
David.
make you.
All right, David, come on in, David.
Oh, thanks, Egberto. Yeah, I wanted to stay on your topic of Medicaid cuts, but before I did, the previous caller that was talking about the New York Times finally warning America about Netanyahu's emergency cabinet.
Hmm.
It's about time. What is it, going on 2 or 3 years now that
Yes.
this thing is going on? Netanyahu sat on his butt. You know, it was bad enough when George Bush sat on his butt for 5 hours while America got hit in 9/11. But Netanyahu sat on his butt for 12 hours and allowed this slaughter to go on. And the slaughter was mostly, they did an autopsy report, and most of the bullets came from the IDF.
Yes.
Most of the
Well, oh no,
1,200.
okay. Oh, hold on. I don't have. Let me just say to the. I don't have any corroboration on that. I've heard that, but I don't have corroboration on that.
Yeah. Well, apparently Netanyahu is so corrupt, he was about to be impeached. And this thing, you know, the October 7th attack saved his butt because he was all of a sudden able to fire his normal cabinet and replace them with a whole bunch of sycophants that they were an emergency cabinet. And
Yeah.
because it was an emergency, he couldn't be impeached for corruption.
David,
It's gone on.
I got you, but I have to move on because we have a full
Yeah,
set
the
of
Medicaid,
calls.
though, Medicaid, I can say quickly, it's just penny wise and pound foolish to cut Medicaid. To allow people with a broken hand or a toenail infection to not get care means that everything gets more infected, and it's penny wise and pound foolish. And these guys are stupid for doing Medicaid, Medicare cuts. They're saying 60% of the nursing homes are going to have to shut down by cutting Medicaid.
Mhm.
Now, how expensive is it going to be to have grandma come and either live on the street or have to come over to your house?
You know, why are you so smart? Why are you so smart? Because you added a dimension that I didn't. And that dimension is okay, so the nursing home closes, grandma is going to have to come home. That particular family, it's going to affect their productivity, meaning going to work and all these other things, because our society is not designed that there's a piece that I'm going to play sometime later about how the corporate structure screwed our families, that changed society, that makes things more difficult. But David, thank you for bringing that up. I got to go to Derek. Thank you, David, for your call. Derek, come on in.
Hey, Roberto, quickly. If you go back and pull up old newspaper accounts dealing with the Israel situation, you're gonna find some newspaper articles that clearly said that Netanyahu and them knew that attack was coming, and they sat back and they did nothing because that was what they was going to use in order to justify to go ahead and attack in Gaza.
Okay, Derek,
now
let me just tell the
it's
audience because it's
overkill.
important. It's
Yes,
important for the audience. Notice when I don't have fact information or when a caller call and it's something I'm concerned about, I state it. Derek, there's actual
right.
factual evidence for that. And Haaretz, the newspaper
Yes,
Haaretz, reported that there were two women who was informing their upper leaders that in fact there were test runs being done with drones. There were test runs doing and all these things. They saw the preparation of Palestinians
right.
coming into that area. And yes, as I don't remember who said before, it took them 12 hours to react. All of that is those are statements of
Yes,
fact. Continue, sir.
that is different. And I just want to say quickly, these people, everybody, they can't dream of any more evil ways of doing anything. So they pulling from old playbooks. What we're looking at right now from with the Trump party now right now is Joseph McCarthy all over again. Study that, and you're gonna see every move that they are doing right now, presently. And lastly, I want to say to KPFT, I hope the leadership is listening. However, sometimes you're gonna have to go back to the old ancient way of how the people was raising the funds then. I think, brother, what's going on right now is that I really think it's time for KPFT to do a survey of how many listeners are actually listening. Collective economics still work. However, you'd be surprised if you got over 100,000 people listening. $10 from each person would get you the money that you're looking for.
You know
That's all
something,
called.
Derek, I love you for saying that. And what I'm going to ask you is to write up an email and send it to our management and give them those types of suggestions. No suggestion
Yes, sir.
is so please do that. All right.
I
Thank you,
will.
brother.
Thank
Peace. Let's go to Augie. Come on in, Augie, my brother.
Good morning. Well, you said something about the black podcasters being bought, but when Trump first ran, and you saw black people behind him at his rallies, a reporter kept seeing the same people at different rallies,
Yeah.
different parts of the country. So he went, asked one of them, "Are you for Trump?" And he said, "No, but they paid me to be here." So, so that started a long time ago. And then as far as the Israeli war, Gaza, and they're blaming the Palestinians that are rallying against Netanyahu and calling them anti-Semitic, but they're Israeli Jews and American Jews that are also in those rallies, but
Yeah.
they don't call those Jews anti-Semitic. And like this guy just said, they knew what was coming, and that now he refused to do anything to help them. That festival that the people were at was 2 hours away from where the kibbutzes were, but nobody warned them to tell them what was coming. IDF did nothing to protect them, and those two kibbutzes were strongly anti-Netanyahu that
Yes.
got attacked.
Yes. I am
With
glad
the
you pointed that out
sword.
because I did forget to point that out. Those were very progressive areas that wanted to get to some resolution with the Palestinians. That entire area is actually that way. Continue, Augie.
Yeah, and the atrocities that are going on are nothing compared to what they're seeing with those reconnaissance drones, where the Israelis are seeing what's happening. They're seeing dogs eating the cadavers of the people that are dead, that have been shot and killed by the IDF
Oh man,
soldiers.
brother, I got it.
Video,
It's
they
sad.
see a dog eating a person,
Yeah,
but it's happening all over the place. And those dogs are trained. Now,
yeah.
they hear shooting or explosives going off. That means it's mealtime for the dogs, and they can go and eat whatever bodies they find. Children, old folks, men, and women.
Augie, it is sad. I got to go, Augie. But look, thank you for calling, my brother. I
Yeah,
got
but
one more call to take, and then we got to
well,
close this baby out.
thanks for what you do.
Thank you,
Thanks.
brother.
Bye-bye.
Let's go to Brian. Come on, Brian. Brian, you're on.
Yes, you're there. Yeah, okay. First off, looks like Obama got himself into a little bit of trouble, like major trouble, by a false statement of trying to say that, the Russia collusion. He's pretty much going to be in big trouble for this. And Biden, if he was such a perfect person, why is his aides and people that are surrounding him taking the Fifth? They plead the Fifth Amendment when Congress called them in and said, what about this auto pen? And the thing about Gaza, you have to remember the Uvalde school shooting. We had police officers right outside the building, right outside the windows for 90 minutes. Now, what's the difference?
All right. Thank you very much, Brian. Let me just say this, folks. That is what somebody who gets information from bad sources will tell you. Obama is in trouble. Obama is sweating bullets, man. Obama is so scared that they're going to arrest him because he was, this is funny. And to think that somebody like Brian, who claims some sort of a whatever, believe that kind of a stuff, right? That's what Trump wants. You're a good Trump guy. Unfortunately, you're misled. And when it comes to AutoPen and all of that, hey, it works with you. He's hoping that it works with a lot of people. It's good for it that a whole lot of MAGA are waking up. And that's the problem right now. Nothing that Trump is putting out is sticking. But I don't care about any of that. What I care about is talking about the issues that affect people. Medicare for all, whether the Democrats are going to support Mamdani, who has the heart of the people, or not. That's where we're at. Let me throw it to the studio. Studio.
All right.
Close her out for me, guys. What's up?
It's Nature Conservation Day. Love your mother. Nature Conservation Day should be every day.
Yeah, and I just want to say more compassion. Like, everybody just needs more compassion, because right now, a lot of us, our heads are so full, we just, we don't want to watch this or watch that. But it's really important to remember compassion, people.
Thank you so kindly for that, Mayana. And I want to end the program on compassion. Compassion for the rest of your fellow person. Empathy for your rest of your fellow person. Because I tell you what, even your MAGA brothers and sisters, they're hurting. They're ill-informed, misinformed, etc. It's true. But they're all our people as well. Let's get together. Let's get collective. Anyway, folks, the rest of the program is at politicsandright.com/newsletter. Politicsandright.com/newsletter. I love you all. My name is Egberto Willis. This is Politics and Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
You're listening to the American Democracy Minute, keeping your government buy-in for the people. New York City Mayor Eric Adams, who had campaign corruption charges against him dropped by the Trump DOJ in March, may have